Now, amidst the noise of the recent clashes with Palestinians, another crisis is going mostly under the radar. Dozens of members of the African Hebrew Israelites, believing to be descendants of an ancient Israelite tribe, now facing deportation. The Interior Ministry reportedly giving upwards of 46 families just 2 months to leave the country despite having permanent residency status. Joining me now with more, though, is Hebrew Israelite Community Representative Ashrael Moore. Ashrael, thank you so much for being with us. Now, you just came out of a meeting, I understand, with the Minister of Interior. What was discussed in the meeting, and were there any developments?
Well, first of all, good afternoon to you, and thank you for having me, and good afternoon to all of our viewing audience. Just a bit of accuracy. We were not meeting with the Ministry of Interior. We were meeting with the Deputy Minister of Internal Security, who's a personal friend of the communities and who's looking forward to assisting us. He's from the Ethiopian community, Beta Israel. And what we discussed, very simply, just so you can have a general picture, you see, we have approximately 135 people right now who have upward of about 50 days now to be out of the country. Now, when we look at these people, we're considering you have those who've been in Israel since 1969, 1970. You have children and second and third generation of their children who've been born in Israel who don't have any legal status in any other country in the world. You have those who have matriculated through the systems of Israel, most notably the military, and their either family members or parents are up for deportation. There's a situation here that we've tried to settle with the Ministry of Interior, and we've tried to settle it for the last 53 years. But somehow, some way, we've always run into stumbling blocks where they would just not allow us to do so. And this time around was a bit stranger because they gave us a feeling that they actually wanted to settle the cases. And we were in this situation with them for approximately a year now, since August of last year. They requested that we provide to them a listing of the those who are up for not deportation, but those who do not have any legal status here in Israel right now, and they'll settle the cases. But guess what they received in turn? They received a deportation note letting them know that they have up to 60 days to be out of the country.
So what changed? How is it possible to remove this residency status in cases such as this? And why, again, why just these 46 families?
You see, it's not just the 46 families. In 2014, when then Minister of Interior Gideon Sav came to Dimona to visit us, he wanted to settle all of the cases because those who immigrated to Israel in 1969, they immigrated under the law of return. But the law of return, and they received legal citizenship, not status just, legal citizenship. But the law of return changed in 1970, and then that law was no more relevant for us. So those who had citizenship, their citizenship was revoked, first of all, and then we began the legal battle. Now, in 2014, Gideon Saab wanted to put a close to this situation once and for all, and he began the process, actually began to settle cases, but he just didn't get around to everybody because he was just in office for a year and a half. And when Aryeh Deri returned to the office, everything that Gideon Saar had begun, he absolutely annihilated. And the process for deportation, I think, actually started then in 2015 when they simply just drug the cases out up until 2020 when they allowed us once again to come to speak to them. And then they gave the impression that they were willing to now settle everything once and for all. And then we are now served deportation notes.
So my final question to you is, do you think that this is a technical issue of some sort, or do you think there's maybe more political or even religious motivations behind these decisions? And might it even have anything to do with the smaller held belief amongst the community that the Black Hebrew Israelites are the true descendants as opposed to other white appearing Jews?
I think it's very simple. You see, we have not came up on these obstacles because we're not part of the whole house of Israel. We have not experienced all of these difficulties just because we have our different beliefs in regards to how we should keep the laws of the Bible. We have a very specific feeling about this, and we feel that we're just not wanted here in Israel. The color of our skin plays a very big part in it, obviously, because we're not the only community here in Israel who's experiencing such difficulties. Even the Ethiopian community is experiencing their own difficulties in their own way. The policies of immigration in Israel says obviously that those who were born in Israel and have no other status in any other country is eligible for citizenship. And in 2002, Ariel Sharon reassured the then congressman that that everybody who was born in Israel would actually receive citizenship. But obviously that has not happened. So it's been a continual process of trying to actually uproot us from Israel. And I think we've reached a peak at this moment. And I'm happy that it's catching the kind of attention that it's catching, because it has to come to an end.
All right, well, I'm happy to be a part of it, and I wish you the best in this battle with the government. ISRAEL, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.